What if I told you that right now, beneath the surface of your waking mind, you share a vast, invisible library with every human who has ever lived, a place where the same dreams repeat across cultures, where symbols emerge that no one taught you, where you recognize myths you have never heard. Carl Jung called this the collective unconscious, and tonight, as you rest, we are going to walk together into that hidden architecture of the human soul. You have probably felt it before. Maybe you dreamed of falling and woke with your heart racing, even though you have never fallen from a great height. Maybe you saw an image, a spiral, a serpent, a wise old man, and something inside you stirred with recognition you could not name. Maybe you met a stranger and felt you had known them across lifetimes. These are not accidents. They are whispers from a deeper layer of mind, one that Jung spent his entire life mapping. And understanding it changes everything about how you see yourself, your relationships, your fears, and your potential. Welcome. If this is your first time here, you have found a place where psychology meets poetry, where ancient wisdom meets modern insight. This is Deep Psyche Lab, and we explore the hidden currents that shape your inner world. If you are drawn to Carl Jung, to depth, to meaning, to the question of who you really are beneath the roles you play, then subscribe now and turn on notifications. We go deep here. We do not skim the surface. And tonight, we begin with the foundation of everything Jung discovered, the collective unconscious. Let me start with the story. In 1913, Carl Jung had a series of visions. He saw Europe drowning in blood. He saw rivers turning red. He saw entire cities consumed by devastation. This was months before World War I began. Jung did not know if he was going mad or if something deeper was speaking through him. He recorded these visions obsessively, trying to make sense of them. And then the war came. Millions died. The world he knew shattered. And Jung realized he had been tuning into something far older and larger than his personal mind. He had touched the collective unconscious. This was not telepathy. It was not magic. It was the recognition that beneath our individual thoughts, beneath the ego we call I, there exists a shared psychological substrate, a kind of psychic soil from which all human consciousness grows. Just as we inherit the structure of our bodies, the shape of our hands, the pattern of our heartbeat, we also inherit the structure of our psyche. We inherit the templates of human experience, the archetypes, the myths, the symbols, and these are not learned. They are built in. Think about it. A child who has never seen a snake will still recoil from one. A person raised in a city with no exposure to fire will still dream of flames. Symbols of death, rebirth, the hero, the mother, the shadow. These rise independently in every culture across time. The Greeks told stories of descent into the underworld. The Egyptians spoke of journeys through the land of the dead. Indigenous tribes across continents created rituals of initiation that mirror each other in uncanny ways. No one asked the question no one else was asking. Why? Why do the same images, the same narratives, the same psychological patterns emerge again and again, separated by oceans and centuries, in people who never had contact with one another? His answer was the collective unconscious, a layer of the psyche that is universal, not personal, not shaped by your childhood or your culture, though those things matter deeply. This is deeper. This is the inheritance of being human. It is the psychological DNA of our species. Now let us be clear about what this is not. The collective unconscious is not a mystical cloud where souls merge. It is not reincarnation. It is not a literal place you can visit. Jung was a scientist, a psychiatrist trained in the rigorous methods of his time. He built this theory from decades of clinical work, from listening to thousands of patients describe their dreams, the fears, the fantasies. He noticed patterns, repetitions, symbols that no one had taught his patients but that appeared again and again. He saw a woman dream of a great mother figure she had never read about. He saw a man describe a journey that matched the hero's journey in myths he had never encountered. And Jung began to map the territory. He proposed that the psyche has layers. The conscious mind is what you are aware of right now. Our thoughts, our intentions, our sense of I am here, I am thinking this. Below that is the personal unconscious. This is where your repressed memories live. Our forgotten traumas. The parts of yourself you have pushed down because they were too painful or too shameful or simply too inconvenient. Freud spent his career here, and it is important territory. But Jung went deeper. Beneath the personal unconscious, he found the collective unconscious. This is not your story. It is the human story. It is the library of all stories. The templates that shape how we experience love, depth, transformation, fear, power, belonging. These templates are called archetypes, and they are the inhabitants of the collective unconscious. We will explore archetypes in depth in other videos, but for now, understand them as patterns. Universal patterns of experience that every human being is born with the potential to activate. You do not create the archetype of the mother. You encounter it. You meet it in your own mother. Yes, but also in the earth, in the ocean, in figures of nurture and destruction, in goddesses and grandmothers, and the feeling you get when you return home after a long absence. The mother is not one person. It is a pattern, a psychological structure, and when it activates in you, it carries the weight of every mother who has ever lived, every story of birth and care and smothering and loss. The same is true for the father, the hero, the trickster, The wise old man, the shadow. These are not ideas you learned. They're structures you were born with, waiting to be filled with the content of your life. And the collective unconscious is where they live, vast and silent, beneath your everyday awareness. So why does this matter? Why should you care about some abstract layer of mind you can't see or touch? Because the collective unconscious is always active. It is shaping your life right now. When you fall in love, you are not just falling for a person. You are encountering the archetype of the beloved, the anima or animus, the inner image of the other that you have carried since birth. When you face a challenge, you are stepping into the hero's journey, a pattern as old as humanity. When you feel stuck, when you feel haunted, when you feel like something is pulling at you from beneath the surface, that is the collective unconscious calling you toward individuation, toward becoming who you truly are. Jung believed that most people live in the surface. They identify entirely with their ego, the conscious sense of self, and they mistake that for the whole. But the ego is just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath it is the vast mass of the unconscious, personal and collective, and if you ignore it, it does not go away. It erupts. It manifests as symptoms, as compulsions, as dreams that terrify you, as attractions you can't explain, as rage that seems to come from nowhere. The unconscious does not stay quiet. It speaks in symbols, and if you do not learn its language, it will speak louder. This is where dream work becomes essential. Dreams are the royal road to the unconscious, Freud said, and Jung agreed, but he went further. He said dreams are not just about your personal conflicts. They are also messages from the collective unconscious. They are trying to show you the bigger picture, the archetypal pattern you are living, the myth you are enacting without knowing it. Let me give you an example. A man comes to Jung and describes a recurring dream. He is in a dark forest. He is lost. He encounters a wise old man who gives him a key. The man does not know what the key opens. He wakes feeling unsettled. Now, on a personal level, this dream might be about the man's relationship with his father, his search for guidance, his fear of being lost in his career. All valid. But Jung would also look at the collective level. The dark forest is an archetypal image. It appears in fairy tales across the world. It represents the unknown, the unconscious, the place where you lose your way so that you can find a deeper way. The wise old man is an archetype. He is Merlin, he is the sage, he is the inner guide. The key is a symbol of unlocking, of access, of initiation. This dream is not just personal, it is initiatory. It is saying, you are ready to go deeper. You are being called into the mystery. And this is the power of understanding the collective unconscious. You stop seeing your life as random. You start seeing the patterns. You start recognizing the archetypes at play. You realize you are not alone in your struggles. Every human who has ever lived has faced the dragon. Every human has descended into darkness. Every human has had to integrate the shadow. You are not isolated. You are part of a story that is far older and far larger than you. But here is the key. The collective unconscious is not something you master. It is something you enter into relationship with. You can't control it. You can't dissect it. You can only listen. You can only enter it. You can only allow it to speak through your dreams, your intuitions, your creativity, your moments of sudden knowing. Jung himself did this through what he called active imagination. He would sit quietly and allow images to arise. He would enter into dialogue with them. He painted. He carved stone. He built a tower by the lake where he could commune with the deeper layers of his psyche. He didn't try to force meaning. He let meaning emerge. And this is the practice he invites us into. Not analysis for its own sake, but a living relationship with the unconscious. Now, you might be wondering, is there any evidence for this? Is the collective unconscious real, or is it just a poetic metaphor? This is a fair question. Jung was not interested in proving the collective unconscious in the way you prove a chemical reaction. He was interested in phenomenology, in the lived experience, and which shows up again and again in human psychology. And the evidence is everywhere, if you know how to look. Consider the research in universal symbols. Studies have shown that certain images, the circle, the crest, the spiral, the serpent, appear across cultures with remarkably similar meanings. Consider the work of Joseph Campbell, who cataloged myths from around the world and found the same narrative structure repeating. The hero's journey, the call to adventure, the descent, the return. Consider the fact that children who have never been exposed to religious imagery will still draw mandalas, sacred circles, when they are trying to integrate difficult experiences. Consider your own dreams. How many times have you dreamed something you could not have learned? The collective unconscious is not a belief system. It is a framework, a way of understanding the patterns that shape us. And whether you call it the collective unconscious or the archetypal layer or the shade mythology of humanity, the point is the same. We are not isolated minds. We are connected at a depth most of us never explore. And here is where it gets personal. If you have ever felt like you do not fit, if you have ever felt like there is something more beneath the surface of your life, if you have ever been haunted by a dream or a symbol or a longing you can't name, you are feeling the pull of the collective unconscious. You are being invited to go deeper, to stop living only in the ego, to stop identifying only with the roles you play, and to ask the bigger question, who am I, really? Not just the person the world sees, not just the person I think I am. But who am I in the story of humanity? What archetype am I living? What myth is moving through me? This is the beginning of individuation, the process Jung described as becoming who you truly are, not by adding more, but by integrating what has always been there, by bringing the unconscious into consciousness, by making the darkness visible. And the collective unconscious is the well you draw from. It is the source. It is where the symbols live. It is where the myths are born. And it is yours. Not in the sense that you own it, but in the sense that you are part of it. You are a thread in the great weaving. So tonight, as you rest, consider this. You are not just you. You are also the carrier of something ancient, something vast, something that speaks in dreams and symbols and sudden knowing. The collective unconscious is not somewhere else. It is in you. It is the ground beneath your thoughts. And when you learn to listen, when you learn to iterate, your life begins to feel less like a random series of events and more like a story. A story that matters. A story that connects you to every human who has ever asked the big questions. Before we close, a quick reminder. This channel is educational and not a substitute for therapy. If you are struggling, please reach out to a professional who can support you. Now, if this resonated with you, do me a favor. Hit the like button. It helps more people find this work. And leave a comment with the phrase "I am listening" because that is what this is about. Listening to the deeper layers. Listening to the symbols. Listening to the collective unconscious as it speaks through your life. And if you want more of this, more depth psychology, more Carl Jung, more explorations of the hidden architecture of the soul, subscribe to Deep Psyche Lab and turn on notifications. We are building a community of people who are not afraid to go deep, who are willing to sit with mystery, who understand that the most important journey is the one inward. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, you are not alone in this. You are part of a story far older than yourself. The collective unconscious is always speaking. The question is, are you ready to listen? Until next time, rest well, dream deep, and I will meet you in the next layer.